Hello, Woodruff Road Christian Church and our friends in the YouTube interwebs collection. Chris here with another fake Plantside chat, here to serve you with some devotional thoughts for today. It's in my world where I'm recording this. It's Tuesday, April 14th. I'm not sure where it is in your world when you're watching this, but regardless of that, I'm happy to be with you, connecting with you. It's weird times right now. So this may hopefully be a useful video. I mean, I'm recording this video, so in my mind, it's at least kind of useful. But I started connecting the dots. Now, that's not literally me at home so bored in this time of isolation and pandemic that I'm actually connecting the dots on a connect the dots puzzle, although those are fun. I started to connect the dots with some of the things that are happening now that I want to draw our attention to. Two very, 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 very common, well-known scriptures. Verses that we can probably rattle off the top of our head, if not word for word, at least conceptually. We can pull these off the top of our head, and I want to, this morning in this video, apply the two, connect the dots with this third part of our kind of situation. We're in isolation. A lot of our interaction is online. I mean, you're watching this online right now. That's how we're interacting. That's where we're getting our kind of spiritual feeding at this point. Is I'm talking to a camera. You're looking at an electronic device of some sort. That's how we're interacting. And so I wanted to look at this triangle. It's not a very hard connected dots puzzle. It's only three. I want to look at this concept this morning and connect the dots with how we, those who bear the name Christ, Christian, Christ follower, should be acting and should be responding to this world in this time when most, if not all, of our interaction is online, is through this kind of anonymous filter of the internet or social media. And this really stems from an article I read this morning with a cup of coffee. I was reading, and I came across an article that had a good title, enough to catch me and draw me in. And I started reading, and I pulled this concept, this paragraph, out of the article, and I want to read some of it for you. And here's why it impacted me and stuck with me, and why I wanted to play Connect the Dots with you. In a healthy culture, that is a live culture where we're actually not social distancing but together, debate over matters, theological, controversial, political, through meaningful and often emotional, those topics are conducted with grace and humility. Indeed, that's exactly how countless Christians conduct themselves in their churches, in their Bible studies, and in their relationships with friends and neighbors. So when we are talking about these things with people we love or are close to, we handle our debates and even our arguments most of the time with some civility, some care for each other. Increasingly, back to the article, however, that's not online Christian culture. And online Christian culture matters. It's the primary way that millions of Americans, especially in more secular American communities, experience Christianity. They don't encounter Christians in their daily lives, but they do see them on Twitter or on Facebook, often by eavesdropping on vitriolic disputes or watching full-throated partisan advocacy, utterly divorced from doubt and nuance. However, it's often the most direct way that those Christians who have public platforms engage with the Christian public. So I realize that most of our Christian interaction now is online, and some of that, or maybe a lot of that, is now being done through social media. And we're finding ourselves more and more engaged with this online persona of Christianity. So I wanted to, let's move from there to point one, down to point two. And it's a verse in the Old Testament. It's one of my favorites. It's very familiar. It's Micah 6:8. And it's within a great, wonderful message from the prophet Micah to Israel. And it asks, what does the Lord require of us? And I've long said, if this verse was in the New Testament, it would be one of the foundational pillars of Christian society. What does the Lord require of you? He's shown you what is good. Do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. Three things. Do, love, walk. Do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. Now, that is point 2. I still want to connect the dots with this idea of Christian online culture and make this practical. We're not really in a position right now to do or to walk unless you're walking around your neighborhood. There's a lot of limit to our physicality of Christianity, a physicality of our faith. And so we are more and more isolated, more and more drawn in with how we respond and how we act. So that takes us to point 3. Another very, very familiar verse, one that gets read all the time, things like weddings, commonly used in sermons on love. This is 1 Corinthians 13. Now, I'm not going to go and talk about the characteristics of love. I could. That could be point 4 in our growing more and more complex connected dots puzzle. I just want to read verse 1 and maybe a part of a couple more verses. But let's hear 1 Corinthians 13. If I could speak all the languages of earth and of angels, but I didn't love others, I would only be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. How about I just stop there? If I could speak all the languages of earth, all the languages of men, I think as the NIV says. Now, I'm not saying we could speak in tongues. We're not talking about that. I'm just talking about connecting with our fellow man at this point and kind of honing this concept down to just connecting with our fellow human counterparts. If I could connect with them in their language, if I could use familiar enough language to create a relationship, or at least find some commonality, whether that's political commonality, religious commonality, sports fandom commonality, just proximity commonality with our neighbors. If I have some reason to speak the language of earth, but don't do it with love, I'm just a clanging cymbal or a banging gong. Now, I want to ask this big question as we connect these dots of our online persona, our call to action as Christians. What does God want from us? And how do we speak? Are we just clanging cymbals? Are we just noisy gongs? Are we turning people away from Christianity because of one comment? Now you think about this idea of what does it take to bring someone to Christ? Sometimes it takes years of relationship building, of trust building, of demonstrating faith. It literally takes less than a second to push somebody away from Christianity forever. Let's use this time. Yes, we're separated, but we're still connected. We are more connected globally now than we ever have been. Let's use this time to advance the gospel, to advance the message of Christ. Let's use this time to connect the dots in our own lives, our online persona, what God wants from us, mercy, love, justice, and speaking with, above all things, love in every manner. I am still thrilled to be a part of somewhat of your daily devotional time. I'm thrilled to be a part of the Word with you, teaching and growing, and I'm even more thrilled with the amount of fake plants that are growing beside me. Let's keep it going. Can't wait to get back together with you, Woodruff Road.